they can do it. 8-5 in the standings for this squad, 4-9 for FlyQuest. And in case you're just now joining, remember, Clutch can secure a playoff spot with a win in this one. So a lot on the line here.
And Clutch Gaming is third right now. Like, we're looking at a team that if they win this, they're 9-5, and they're close, very close to having a first-round bye, and it could potentially knock someone like Cloud9 down. And that's really what they're looking for here, is picking up all these wins and starting this streak, because they're 3-1 in the last 4 games in the second half. But overall, their last 7 games, they've won 6 of them.
Which is one hell of a streak, honestly. Let's go ahead and see what they're going to do with this game specifically, though. FlyQuest banning away the Varus, the Kazakhs, and the Rise. Clutch Gaming deciding to ban away that permaban Skarner on red side, along with the Galio, preventing some of that roaming potential you were talking about from Fly. This is a fantastic champion for that playstyle. They want to shut that down. Also removing Rakan.
Making sure that if they lock in Zayed, you aren't forced to pick Rakan yourself, and then they may want to have something else here in their 1-2 spots on the red side. Sion actually hasn't seen much play today. He's been banned a pretty frequent amount in 2 of the games, left open in 1 and left open in the other as well. So
have to see if anybody wants to take that one this game. It's going to be Ezreal picked up first for FlyQuest. Clutch Gaming responding with the Emperor of Shurima locked in there for Febiven. Not really too surprised about that one.
Yeah, has played it 2 out of their last 3 games, so this will be 3 for 4 here. The last time he played before that was back when he got that pentakill. So far, he's only died twice on that champion this split. He's played 3 games with it. His overall scoreline is 19-2 and then 9.
That's quite a KDA. Quite an impressive number for himself, but he's also going to be having that Sejuani there, piloted by LirA on his side. FlyQuest responding with a front line for themselves, grabbing that Sion that you were talking about, as well as picking up the Braum for some disengage as Clutch decides to grab their AD carry as well before the second round of the bans hit, picking up the Caitlyn.
So Apollo on this Caitlyn, just looking for some lane priority. He played it yesterday, went 3-0-4 on it, but Turtle has also played it a decent amount. 3 of Turtle's last 4 games have been on Caitlyn, and they prioritized the Ezreal just a little bit higher here. So we'll see what they're able to do, because I'm actually not as familiar with this matchup, and every time I see somebody play it, it actually just swaps, where I'm like, wait, I thought Caitlyn's supposed to win this, but even just watching yesterday, I believe it was Cloud9, I believe, they were just getting smashed by an Ezreal as Caitlyn, and it just really did take a lot of that pressure out of the bottom lane. It wasn't. I don't think it was Cloud9 actually. It was a different match, but it was just Caitlyn versus Ezreal is a very awkward matchup, I think, where Cait is kind of supposed to win, but if you eat enough poke, you just flat out lose it early.
And we all know supports can play a big role in it as well, right? Depending on who you've got laning with you, it could influence that ebb and flow one way or the other. But looking at the second part of the bans here, Clutch Gaming focusing on those solo lanes. Vladimir and Camille banned out, while for FlyQuest, Morgana is the first target, and they still got 15 seconds to think about who that last champion they want to ban away is.
Trying to remove some lane dominance from Hakuho. Maybe Thresh. Try to get that out of there, because they already banned the Morgana. That would make Thresh even more appealing, but the Trundle is what they end up banning instead, so they don't want that counter to the Sion in the top lane. All right. Shen's still something that, you know, did well into Sion. So.
Absolutely. You still got to pick some potential big front line here for Clutch Gaming. You got a support and a top laner to go. Let's see exactly how they want to go about doing this. Picking up the support does mean that they can leave the counter pick open for solo there on the top side, so they'll unbench the Kench.
Okay, so they pick Tahm Kench into the Braum. The Braum actually does quite well in these matchups, able to just go back and forth, and so you really just don't want to have those fights break out. We'll see if Fly plays the Vel'Koz into the Azir. It is something that's considered a counter matchup, and Vel'Koz was considered pretty buffed because of the changes to the AP itemization. If he can get Luden's Echo, he can wave clear much earlier, and then he has access to CDR and Burst, and he's going to do it.
You can hear the crowd chanting, lock it in, lock it in, there we go. Fly grabbing that champion. This should be fun to watch. I always love seeing these off-meta picks, just something a bit unusual, that niche pick, that pocket pick. Normally, you only see Huhi play this champion, but today, Fly is going to see if he can soar into victory on this one. He's going to be having the Zac right behind him, soaring into those backlines with the elastic slingshots. Plenty of initiation there between the Sion and the Zac for this FlyQuest team.
Yeah, and having that initiation onto the backline, especially when there's an Azir, definitely helps you out. I wonder what's going to happen here with Fly on this Vel'Koz because I think he has to take Cleanse in this matchup because of Sejuani in the jungle. Sejuani's going to have a Cleanse tax on the mid laner, even though she's the only one who could really do long-range stuns to him. Either he's playing far back and taking something like Barrier or Heal, or he's going to have to take that Cleanse because the Sejuani is just such a big threat.
All right, we'll see how he decides to play it out. The final pick of the draft was for Clutch Gaming, and it was Cho'Gath there in the top lane. We'll see if Solo can do what Licorice did with it in the previous game and just sort of dominate that 1v1, become that massive team fight threat that just marches forward, dealing the damage as well as soaking up a ton of it.
And Solo was one of the people that when the patch shifted and went to 8.4 and it was less about those bruiser top laners and the gangplank, which he was really kind of popping off on, I wanted to see what he looks like during the lane phase because he was falling behind. He had one of, if not the worst CSD at 15 out of anybody in the entire league, in top lane especially. And so I want to see what he looks like in even situations, or if he can even have those, especially up against somebody like Flame.
Should be a lot of fun to see these two go head-to-head. Remember, plenty on the line here in Week 7, the last game of the week. And after that, after this game is finished, Zirene, every team in the North American LCS only has 4 more games to play before everything is said and done, the dust settles, and we see which 6 get to go on and have a postseason.
Ooh, and I mean, it's starting to look like, you know, we already have Echo Fox, we already have Cloud9 in the postseason. If Clutch win here, they'll lock their ticket as well.
They'll be the 3rd team to secure that spot for themselves, and that, of course, feels good when you can head into those last 2 weeks knowing that you are decidedly one of those top 3 teams in the North American LCS. But let's see exactly how they're going to play it out this time. Going up against FlyQuest, a team that, like we said, have been struggling a little bit. It seems like they want to play around a certain style, and sometimes it's hard to find their way into seeing that style be played based on the comps they're allowed to have, based on what their opponents deny to them. Fly traditionally wanting to roam a lot, get involved in the side lanes. Vel'Koz, a champion that doesn't have quite the roaming potential as some of the other ones that may come to mind immediately, like a Galio or a Talia, but he still should have some wave clear potential, like you said, with those new AP itemization changes, and that might set him up for what they're looking for here.
And I mean, Azir is a champion that I personally have just considered as incredibly disgusting to play against. Like, the counterplay that he has doesn't always feel like it's very accessible.
As a Skarner picker, I agree.
He's actually my ban, even when he's like remotely good, because people in Diamond will just be able to pop off on him, and then catching him when they have E to get away, R, and then they have... He's basically the Tristana of the mid lane with 2 ways to get himself away, and then he's a hyper carry later, but he comes on a little bit earlier than you would think. So it's like finding that hard counter to him that doesn't just beat him in lane, but also finds ways to interact with him later is super hard. People have tried Xerath, and then they've tried Vel'Koz, but Azir still has ways to playmake on you. Because you're low mobility.
He can still shuffle you.
He can still shuffle you into his jungler. So it becomes very difficult to play these matchups, especially when like you aren't playing from a position where you're slightly ahead. So some jungle attention is usually required to tilt this really far into your advantage as the poke champion. And I want to see what Onda is able to do here to affect that mid lane, because LirA so far has been looking better on this patch. And he might get there first. And yeah, like we see, the cleanse is taken by Fly, so he is respecting LirA early on.
And I like seeing that kind of respect. It's one of those things that it doesn't feel good to do, but you know it's the right thing to do just because of how deadly it is to get caught without that, as Onda does move into the enemy jungle, steal away that blue buff from LirA, which will set LirA a little bit behind here.
That's so weird that he still went there, though. Because what happened was he went and did his red, and then he did his Raptors, which is the Sejuani route now, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but they saw WildTurtle and Stunt go into the jungle and force out Apollo. He took Mystic shots on the way out.
It should be very clear that this is what's happening.
They didn't ward it. They didn't like really pay attention to it either, and then Stunt and WildTurtle didn't come from the lane bush. They came from the tri-brush and kind of juked him, so LirA actually wasted a lot of time, lost 2 camps for it, and now it's going to be Onda who actually has more camps to take. And LirA's going to struggle to hit level 3, but he's definitely going to struggle to hit level 4 here.
The ward will spot out exactly where Onda is, so it's a small consolation prize, but at least Clutch will have the knowledge of where FlyQuest jungler is at the cost of losing their blue buff, but still feels pretty bad to lose away from that one. LirA will do a bit of counter jungling here onto the enemy Raptor camp, try to get something back. The ward over the wall does expose this one to Fly, though, so no opportunity to try to steal those chickens over the wall. LirA will just get this one for himself for free. First Drake is Infernal. Want to go ahead and point that one out in case we see some early fights over that, as that Drake often leads teams to want to fight for it. But for now, it's going to be Clutch Gaming pushing up in the bottom part of the map here in that Caitlyn versus Ezreal matchup that you said you've seen go so many different ways. But LirA decides he wants to show up here in the bottom part of the map to take the Krugs, if nothing else. He needs to get some of those camps.
So the missed Q from both of the members of Fly. I'm like, I missed the Winter's Bite and then missed the Mystic Shot onto the
Feels bad,
steal
man.
it, so it hurt me a little bit, but anyway.
You had quick feet.
Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit earlier in a different game, but I definitely want to go a little bit more in depth now, because I think it was Meteos who took Fleet Footwork still, but there's actually been a very big difference in the patch in terms of Sejuani, where now she's getting banned a whole lot, even though she was kind of left up before. And that's because Aftershock plus Precision as your secondary is better. So the reason this shifted over is Precision now gives you the half value attack speed when you take it as your secondary tree. So you take Legend Alacrity for even more attack speed, and so you don't really miss going full Precision primary, and you don't need Domination secondary because Zombie Ward is just not as good without Tracker's Knife, right? So you take Aftershock as your primary, you can take things like Unflinching, and jungle users are the best users of Unflinching now because you actually have a smite, right? And people don't know this, but Unflinching gives you 10 seconds of CC reduction, right? So you have your smite down, you use your smite, it's 25% off the flow, and the resistance is to different CCs. So it's a very, very good mastery, or I guess rune, to take here. So that's why the Sejuani is still very highly in the meta, because you just shifted, and you're like, hey, I still get all the attack speed that I got before, and now you don't have to start Machete either. You can start with the Hunter's Talisman and go for the top side, because you have HP from Resolve Tree, which works with the Hunter's Talisman, gives you the burn, and then you can kill the Raptors. So you don't have to do single target camps.
As a selfish jungler who always took the smite the enemy champion smites, I loved Unflinching. Always gives you that little bit of an extra edge in those fights to escape some of that CC, but let's see what Onda can do here.
It's like a 2-minute Sejuani guide on 8.4.
Hey, there you go. If you want to play Sejuani in 8.4,
there you go.
With that.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is a lot of people are still taking Machete and then going with Fleet Footwork. Swap to Aftershock, Precision secondary, start with Talisman.
You heard it here first. Get on it.
Exactly. Because then you can go into your Raptors as your second camp. Talisman will burn it. You'll have extra HP, so it's the extra burn, and you're in a good spot.
All right. Speaking of good spots, both these teams aren't really too sad about where they're sitting right now. It's pretty much a dead even game, as the sides are farming rather evenly. Mid lane, bottom lane locked dead even on the CS. An advantage in the jungle for LirA, actually, despite losing his initial blue buff. He's farmed up an edge for himself. Top side is going to be Flame with a very slight lead. Level 6s are coming online across the board, though. Those junglers are going to be the ones I'm really looking at to start things off once they have ultimates available. We know Sejuani ult and Zac ult are both huge playmaking tools, and especially if you couple that with something like a Shurima Shuffler, like a Sion Initiation, it can lead to some huge moments.
Yeah, and you saw Flame went in to kind of track the jungler. It's now everybody's job to get those wards down and use your priority. Now Fly, looks like he's just going for wave clear. Maxes the W first. And you can see there, just throws down, I believe that was 2 of them, and clears the wave except for the cannon.
For people who don't see a lot of Vel'Koz or aren't super familiar with the champ, you do get to stack up 2 charges of the W, and you can let them fly back to back if you want like that, if you've got them both stacked up. Onda invading the enemy jungle once more, looking to steal away that blue buff a second time. Apollo and Hakuho don't exactly want to let him get away with this thievery. LirA and Febiven both thinking about moving up here as well.
Yeah, contesting that blue that they took very early on in the last rotation of the buffs. We're able to kind of put LirA pretty far behind.
Well, Clutch manages to make sure they keep that in their own possession this time, which is pretty important, especially because you likely want to give it away to Febiven here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy because, you think about LirA losing 2 camps on his side of the jungle. He went in and took 2 camps away, and he's actually ahead in experience over Onda.
He's ahead in experience, and he's up 500 gold.
Yeah, it's how does he do it? I don't understand how he does it.
Pathing Nirvana.
I mean, he said that the jungle was just easy again, right? Without being tracked all the time, and it really has helped LirA out a ton, because he's just one of those guys that knows how to path and how to get the most out of his pathing.
Well, he's got his level 6. I want to see where he gets involved on the playmaking side of things. Both junglers have gone with the chilling smite for themselves to set up a bit more potential of their own lockdown with the follow-up hard CC. Bottom side, Stunt and Turtle trading back and forth here with Apollo and Hakuho. Bone plating procced on the Kench. He'll just waddle himself back over to his AD carry. Sheen and Tier done on the side of WildTurtle. BF sword for Apollo. So this is where if you're taking those single auto attack trades against the Caitlyn, it's going to feel really bad.
Yep. And the blue buff looks like give it over to LirA. Don't give it to Febiven. Febiven actually already has one right now. And he has it again.
Just going to go ahead.
It's invisible. He
actually
crushed that one up. He does have one, so.
We just can't see it. Unfortunate, but Clutch Gaming deciding, hey, you're going to steal our buff earlier. We're going to steal yours a little bit later. Don't worry about it. We'll pay you right back. 500 gold, the tune of the lead for them. Like we already mentioned, that is pretty much all accountable in the jungle. LirA getting himself a nice lead in that department. But Clutch Gaming need to find an opportunity to do something with it.
I mean, it's classic LirA, though, right? When he first came in, it was just like, this guy on this team on Envy, they're holding him back. He gets all pro jungler, that split, because he was playing out of his mind and getting these large advantages. But now, he's back to that style, and there's a control ward right there. I don't know if Onda actually checked it.
I don't believe so, otherwise he wouldn't be charging up right next to it. Unfortunate for him that he does decide to try to make that move right next to the control ward. LirA knows he's down here, so now he's setting up for the counterplay. However, there's no play to be made, as you can see Onda heading back into his own part of the jungle. Drake still up, tempting these teams to maybe think about going for it sometime soon. 10 minutes into the game means that you would be able to see a rotation for that pretty easily if you can make a play beforehand. Febby and Fly both just farming up back and forth here in the mid lane.
And you see he has a blue buff, so.
Yeah, there it finally kicked in. I don't know why it didn't want to show up earlier.
Yeah, I don't know either, but still fixed.
There we go. I called it. This is the Drake that matters. This is the one that you make intentional rotations for. The other ones, they just kind of happen after you do rotations for other stuff. But this one's his own rotation. This is the rotation Drake Zirene, and it's secured by Clutch Gaming.
Yep, there was no ward for Onda available at all, and they just go and pick that one up. So Clutch Gaming, with that Infernal, and sitting on a decent amount of gold themselves, too. Completed Cinderhulk for LirA, so we'll see what he's able to accomplish. Looks like the bottom side maybe where he's trying to visit here.
Stunt posturing very far forward, just trying to force Clutch Gaming to take a step backwards, but they got LirA down here on the bottom side, so they know that even if Onda comes in, it's going to be a 3 versus 3 pretty much immediately. They're not super scared. Even should Apollo find himself locked up, remember Hakuho can use the Devour, get him to safety. See something mid lane. Fly. Ooh, nice flash away, escaping the power of the shuffle there. That's what you were talking about, Zirene. Azir has that playmaking potential on you, but if you got the fast fingers, you can still get out of it.
Yeah, people consider like the Xerath and the Vel'Koz the counters because it's hard for the Azir to really participate in a lot of the fights if he just has the ultimate from the other guy just pointing at him. But you still have playmaking potential during the lane phase. Like, you're still in a very good spot. Like, he didn't even have to blow Flash to do that on the side of the Azir, and he got the Flash from Fly. So doing that again would most likely result in a kill for Febiven.
Right, your Flash is on a 5-minute cooldown. Azir ulti is on just shy of 100 seconds, so going to have that resource available much, much sooner. Next Drake is Infernal number 2. We're finishing off this weekend style, Zirene. This is exactly what I want to see. More stuff to fight over, more reasons to get into the PvP aspect of League of Legends, which has honestly not shown up a whole lot so far this game. 12 minutes in, still no first blood, still only a couple hundred gold separating these two squads.
Yeah, it's just the kind of economy thing. It's like a farm up a little bit. Look at the difference between like LirA and Onda in terms of the CS and the gold, and that's where like we were usually seeing this advantage here. Right now, LirA's 600 gold up, and then it's just kind of all over the place where like the Ezreal has a little bit more than the Caitlyn. But a lot of that is just LirA, once again, having about 700 now, gold up, because of these camps and just his route. But if you're farming like that, and the enemy isn't ganking your lanes, you're actually just winning.
Right. If the other guy's not setting up plays and you're the better farmer, you're just constantly getting those advantages passively. One thing I do want to comment on real quick here, Onda has free-ass boots, which is a rune that hasn't seen much popularity since the nerfs to it. Most people are running Celerity secondary instead now, so bit of a strange choice there from him compared to what you normally see. But that will mean that that's 300 less gold that he has to spend getting the level 1 boot for himself, so bit of extra move speed there for the Zac, seeing if maybe that'll make the difference between getting him where he needs to be into the back line or not.
I mean, you mentioned the free boots not being taken too much. There's actually 4 people on the side of FlyQuest who have the free boots.
Yep, 4 pairs of them sitting right there.
Yeah, went to the pay less.
Pay nothing. They're free.
True.
That's part of the name.
Technically, you are paying less, though.
Okay, all right, fine. You got me. You got me. Free is less than not free.
Boom. Did it.
A little bit of a math lesson here for everybody in Twitch chat.
Anyway, Flame has that banner in the top side, and that's going to be a pickup on that Rift Herald. So right now, just controlling objective to save for that Infernal Drake that'll be up next. Got to position for it eventually.
More contest for blue buffs, though.
Yeah, they're taking those blue buffs, but LirA's like, got it, on it.
All right. He knows what to do this time. Give this one over to Febi yet again. He'll go ahead and slap that control ward out of there. True Shot Barrage fired up to try to stop them from handing this one off, but he aims it a little bit crooked, only at the enemy mid laner instead of the buff itself. I don't know which one he was actually going for, but this might be the fight. Flash away coming out from Febiven as he uses the Emperor's Divide to get himself away here. LirA trying to sidestep away from that Plasma Fission, still getting himself out for now. Going to be slowed down. Flame looking to maybe find the knock up here. Can't quite do it. Arctic Assault, Arctic Retreat this time around.
Yeah, there's actually 2 summoner spells, the 2 flashes from the mid laner and the jungler on clutch. And then Flame is now mid with the Banner of Command. Nobody can clear this.
Febiven, we jumped on here. Elastic Slingshot, looking to find him. Not quite able to do so. Clutch Gaming will hold on. They'll clear out this bannered up minion, and they'll hold their turret.
There's such an interesting series of events, too. Now Flame's going to TP to the top lane, try to pick up whatever CS he can, because the banner is now in response. Banner for banner. Now it's Rift Herald in the mid lane.
Banner for banner. Shelly's coming out as well. Both teams wanting to potentially grab the turret first blood. Shelly charges in, gets that headbutt down onto the tier 1, but she's not going to get a lot else. We haven't seen super successful Shellys.
Yeah, it's usually just the wave, and there's decent wave clear. Like the fact that Luden's Echo is completed on the Vel'Koz, you'll throw down 2 Ws, and the wave actually I believe, just instantly dies, including the melees, if he does throw down 2 Ws.
Up. Yep, yeah. The only exception was the one that stepped out of the way of the second W.
Yeah, I don't even know if he needed that, too, but yeah. Just throw down 2 Ws, and that's actually the entire wave.
Victor level wave clear.
Yeah.
It's actually very similar to Victor. It's 2 lasers along the ground. Yeah. You tap the button twice instead of once. Oh, nice interrupt there. Gonna inconvenience Apollo a bit. Some FlyQuest fans in the audience happy to see the True Shot Barrage stop the back.
It inconveniences him, but like it might make him lose a little bit of gold if WildTurtle shoves this wave in really hard. Those 2 items that he has on this Ezreal here. So he's up about 300 gold, and he has those free boots, so that'll save him a bit on top of it.
Iceborne Gauntlet plus the Mana Moon, looking to get that one evolved into the Muramana as soon as he possibly can. Extra damage as well as extra mana potential there. Looking across the board, the Infinity Edge done on Caitlyn, but remember, Caitlyn, you really want to hit that 3-item spike.
This is going to be such an interesting surround on that Infernal Drake, because Clutch, they have to clear out that bottom wave with Apollo. Both top laners are kind of locked in top lane combat right now. Like, they don't have teleport to join. And FlyQuest are here first, and face checking on a Vel'Koz, super risky. If you eat that E, you're gonna eat a full combo, and you're probably just out of the entire fight.
FlyQuest looking to engage here onto Clutch, over the wall, goes on to into the back line, gets the stretching strikes down onto Febiven. LirA goes over the wall, but he's first blooded. The damage from the Vel'Koz is there, and FlyQuest will take that first blood and head right back into the Infernal Drake pit.
Yeah, LirA's tanky, but he's not that tanky, and the true damage will come through from Fly, just stacking up the Lifeform Disintegration Ray. Able to take him out there, landed the E, cleanses the Sejuani ultimate, and lets it rip.
FlyQuest happy about that one, tying the gold up and grabbing the Drake.
Yeah, LirA walks up. He's rather tanky, his resistances fall off, and then he ends up eating the knock up there. He still goes over the wall too. Doesn't have flash from before when they had that great chase in the top side of the map. So not having those flashes was actually huge for the Infernal Drake contest.
Vel'Koz ult does so much damage, and the projectile, well, it's not even a projectile, the beam on it is deceptive. You think you're out of it, but it still stretches an extra 150 units past that.
Yeah, it's got that little end of it. It's a line segment, but it feels like it's actually just a line, goes on forever.
Anything in this line, even if it's across the map. But Flame deals with that banner minion in the top side. You can see the banner cooldowns pretty much synced up between these two. They're just using them on cooldown to annoy each other. Apollo will continue pushing up in the bottom lane here to annoy WildTurtle. He does have a about a 2-wave CS lead over his opponent. 1-wave CS lead for Febiven there in the mid lane going up against that Vel'Koz that did get the first blood for himself.
Yeah, the gold is actually in a really interesting spot because the Caitlyn is about 300 behind the Ezreal due to Kleptomancy. And then in the mid lane, it's actually the Vel'Koz up about 100. But still, LirA's up 600 gold. That's kind of where they're holding on here for Clutch, is just that 600 gold lead that LirA has on the Sejuani from all of the farm that he's gotten.
Clutch is looking to maybe go for first turret here, but the rotation was read by FlyQuest, who get plenty of bodies up there of their own to stop that. So still no first turret taken by either side. You've got some low turrets on both sides, though, so whichever team can rotate better, can get themselves into the right spot just a second earlier, can grab that extra gold for themselves. Clutch still thinking about top side here. Solo still wants to push up. Needs just a little bit more damage, but Flame does a great job keeping that wave away, stopping the minions from tanking too long, and preventing any unnecessary damage. Hey, they're actually taking their own blue buffs instead of trading them this time.
It's been a fight over it constantly. And now that both teams are even, one Infernal to another, and even in gold at the top. Dead even. Trying to find these small advantages is going to be huge. I'm looking at these dematerializers as well. There's 3-2 in terms of the ones on the supports. And that Baron is coming up right now, so don't think anybody will make like a Hail Mary play for it, but it's just really close to being one of those games where if you're out of those dematerializers, you really do risk getting destroyed by a Baron buffed up cannon minion.
Especially when the game is this close, right? When you've got a game that the gold is honestly not even 100 apart, then you've got to think that any little thing could be that tipping point. Any little thing could be the play that sets the momentum for the rest of the game and really just sets pace for how things are going to play out. And for both teams, that is both an enticing and a concerning prospect, because you know that one really good play, you're going to be taking things over. It's you in the driver's seat. You're calling the shots. But if that play goes wrong, if it goes your opponent's way, well, then things can end up very scary very quick. FlyQuest pushing up here in the mid lane. Stunt taken very low. Hakuho going on that journey, bringing the team in.
It's like trying to find that advantage. There's this Baron buffed up this banner cannon minion top, and he's just like, Solo's like, I'll give turret first gold.
Solo's going for it.
Got
that minion does the work. MVP. Minion, very promising. In the mid lane, though, LirA making the play, trying to catch Fly, but the cleanse would be huge in preventing him from being caught out there. That's exactly why you take it. That's what you were talking about in Champion Select. Even though there's one guy on the enemy team that you're taking that summoner spell for, that one situation right there, it pays for itself.
Yeah, you have to take it. It's kind of mandatory. If you don't, then it feels pretty awful. That's why I don't like blind pick, because you never know when to take cleanse.
Yeah, that does feel really bad. I can't remember the last time I played a blind pick game.
It's been a long time.
I think it was, oh yeah, I played him with Freak when new Swain came out because he wanted to play Swain without it getting banned. And then Ezreal took it from him.
I remember that. That was very recently,
funny,
actually.
That was pretty funny. That's the only blind pick game I played in like 2 years, though.
I'm always down for trolling Freak, so.
But it was a funny blind pick game.
Look at this.
Clutch Gaming, they're always down for an early Baron attempt. FlyQuest, they're nowhere near this. Stunt is the only person out on the map. There is no way for them to secure it. LirA smites early because he knows that Solo has the secure, a stronger secure even through the Cho'Gath feast. Clutch Gaming grabbed themselves an early Baron, and that could be big.
Yep. They only have one banner right now. I'll see if they actually turn that second Aegis into a banner if they have the gold to do so. Looks like they don't right now. They'll lose that mid turret, but now it's just this Baron buff could crack the game wide open here once that banner is up. You'll need that dematerializer, 2 of them on stun, to try and stop those pushes.
Right, FlyQuest really just got caught with their pants down there. Everybody was back in the base. Clutch Gaming reads that situation properly. They say go for the Baron. There's no way that Fly can contest it, and now can Clutch continue making that better rotational play? How good is their macro game with Baron locked and loaded? And how many turrets can you get? When you've got yourself a Baron buff, Zirene, and you're 20 minutes into the game, and you've still got 5 turrets outside the enemy base to take, 2 of those turrets being in that outer line, well, you've got a lot of standing gold that's there for the taking. And if you're Clutch Gaming, you want to grab as much of that as you can during these next 2.5 minutes if that Baron buff is ready to go. Solo will continue bullying Flame around in this 1v1. That Baron buff will make those minions especially hard to take down as Clutch rotates over towards the third Drake of the game. This one is Ocean, so no extra team fight power directly coming out from that one with more Infernal buffs, but they will have some more regeneration, help keep them topped off as they continue this Baron push. Solo caught out though, flashing over the wall, devoured by Kench, kept safe.
And so the way that they got this Baron actually is Solo, we saw him take that top turret with the Banner Cannon minion, and that Banner Cannon minion actually just stayed alive a really long time, made it almost to the tier 2, and so Solo gets to go ahead and back really early on and starts rotating bottom, but the whole team resets, whereas FlyQuest waited for Flame to kind of clear out his minion, and then they reset. And so they were a few seconds behind, mostly because of that push on the top side where that minion had to be answered.
Clutch has decided to go ahead, use the Abyssal Voyage, bring Apollo down here into the bottom lane to join Solo, continue that push there. LirA remaining mid lane with Febiven.
They need Turtle down here, like, there you go. Stunt, use the minion dematerializer, he's got one left.
The one left is a potentially scary prospect.
Yeah, I don't think the banner will be back up, though, during the duration of this Baron buff, so. I don't think they really have to worry about another Baron buff of Cannon minion, but Febiven gets right out.
Nice quick feed, getting himself out of that one. Hakuho knocked up into the air by the Vel'Koz. They're still looking to make something happen here. Can FlyQuest find it? No, they cannot. The soldiers barring the path.
And Spooky Ghost, second item here for Fly, so he's trying to just make sure that he can hit confirm his E, so he's just sending out the Twin Shadows.
FlyQuest seem to have found their way onto Solo. Remember, he doesn't have the flash. Used it the last time that he got into trouble in the enemy jungle, but he does have Hakuho waiting around nearby. Turret goes down there in the mid lane, taken down by Febiven. 3 turrets to 1 for Clutch Gaming. Moving into the enemy jungle again. Azir taking out that blue buff. There's been like 1 blue buff that didn't get stolen this game. 2?
Yeah, I think it might have been 1 or 2 if you count like the first one, because I think they got their own on the FlyQuest side.
Well, it's still a 3,000 gold lead here for Clutch. Baron going to expire in 4, 3, 2, 1. FlyQuest pretty relieved to see those buffs go down on the enemy side. That means that they won't have to worry about that strengthened push for a little while longer.
And all the dust is kind of settled here, it is only about a 3,000 gold lead for Clutch Gaming, so FlyQuest are still in an okay position. Now they just have to look at the items that have been purchased during that time. They have a locket for Hakuho, which will increase their team fight potential. But then on the opposite side, FlyQuest, they have 2 banners now. And they're in a position where they can just keep wave clearing and poking. And that's why this game doesn't have a whole lot of kills in it at all, because it's basically just archers firing at each other the whole time, right? It's like, we have this Ezreal, we have this Caitlyn, we're just going to keep throwing skill shots, and same with the mid laners.
The thing is, if you look at the compositions, look at the carries on Clutch Gaming. It's an Azir, it's a Caitlyn against an Ezreal. We've seen a lot of games this split that has Ezreal versus insert hyper carry here that actually builds crit, and it turns into a nightmare late game for the Ezreal team because they can't compete in terms of the damage. Apollo is about to crest that 3-item point that we go on and on and on about with Caitlyn, where he really turns on in these team fights, and if you're FlyQuest, you really need to be aware of that and just how strong these carries are going to be.
Yeah, exactly. When you have that double Zeal item build with the rapid fire cannon as Caitlyn, that's when you feel like a completely different champion. Sure, you were a lane bully, but now you actually get to have these really long range kind of pop shots onto people where you chunk them out and get that little zap on top of it too.
Engage from Onda, trying to go for the stretching strikes onto Apollo, who ducks away from it, but takes quite a lot of damage from Fly anyway. Lifeform Disintegration Ray coming out, but he can't fully disintegrate Apollo.
He needed to heal. He would have died if he didn't heal there.
That ability is so deceptively strong because you're going to take the first couple ticks, it'll apply stacks of the passive, and then once the passive procs, that next tick is just huge with the damage. So Apollo, knowing that he had to heal, gets himself out from that one, but losing the summoner spell, that's a trade FlyQuest will take any day. Now going right back in onto Hakuho, the cleanse from the Kench, getting him out in time to prevent him from being kidnapped by Onda, but that's yet another summoner spell down on the side of Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, and that's what the Vel'Koz is really bringing to the table, though, is just that long range kind of chunk people out. Because right there, Apollo had to burn heal, healed himself for 270. He lived with like 160 HP, so he 100% would have died there. And that forced him back, which gave FlyQuest room to try and engage and have that window where it's a 4v5 if something does go down.
All right, we're still looking at a 3,000 gold game, though. We're looking at a game with both Baron and Drake spawning in right about a minute. So the teams will have these objectives to fight over soon. FlyQuest has shown that they're not afraid to make plays, even though they're on the back foot. And for Clutch, patience seems to be the name of the game. They're not really chomping at the bit here to go further, to try to make some sort of a crazy move. They're content waiting for the next Baron, utilizing that to push, allowing their Caitlyn and Azir to scale. And that kind of patience is honestly something that you want to be able to see from a team that, like you said, is sitting in third right now, that could clutch playoffs with a win here in this game, because you can't just always go all out. Everybody fighting all the time, blood, 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 blood. You got to know when to pump the brakes a bit. And Clutch Gaming playing this one very slow, very methodically.
Finding those advantages and kind of those holes where LirA was able to get a large CS advantage for himself, just have a gold advantage so he's stronger, and then they rush down the Baron, and like no kills have really happened at all during that time. There was a kill pretty early, and hold on, Sion engaging.
Hakuho trying to flash away from this one. They're still able to find their way onto that. Kench, though, they put him back on the bench, but it's Clutch who managed to grab the Baron in the meantime. They say, okay, you can have Tahm, we'll take Baron.
Yep, 0 kills, 2 Barons for Clutch Gaming.
Thinking emoji.
The same amount of kills has happened as the number of Barons taken this game. So right now, Clutch, they're trying to play that macro game, and so far it's working for them, right? They have that lead in terms of gold, and they have this Baron buff. All they lost was their support for it. That is definitely worth.
Oh, but you're going to lose your AD carry. Hear that? It's going to be tragic. Apollo gone. The kidnap not quite there in terms of the timing through the stopwatch of LirA. Well, he times it properly to escape that from Onda, but FlyQuest pushing into the base now.
Yeah, they're losing a lot for this because Hakuho, he wasn't there to save Apollo because he's dead, right? So the pick actually meant way more. Sion's gonna get away.
Yep, unstoppable retreat. Get out of there, Flame. But yeah, if you're Clutch Gaming, you needed to wait 10 seconds for Hakuho to get back up before you could make a 5 versus 5. And FlyQuest saw that, and they managed to go in, find their chance, find that open window during those 10 seconds. And they get an inhibitor turret for it. No inhibitor, but now the tables have turned. Now it's Clutch Gaming with that Baron up on everybody except their AD carry, and Apollo's still back in the base.
Banner, I don't know why Solo hasn't buffed up this cannon minion. I feel like you should buff up the cannon minion and get that last dematerializer so that your next one will be fine. The earlier you use it, the quicker,
better chance you have to use a second one on the same push.
the off cooldown.
Well, I think they just want to make sure that they've got 5 men strong for when they use it. That would be my justification for the situation.
That's probably what it is, but like, I still feel like if you can get that dematerializer, it might be good. But maybe it would have just been one where the Ezreal's able to kill it. So yeah, potentially justified, like you said.
LirA secures Drake number 3 for the side of Clutch, and because they took it past the 29-minute mark, that means next one's Elder. So another big win condition will be coming online here shortly. Clutch Gaming utilizing the Baron buff, taking down another tier 2 turret. That's 5 turrets to 3 overall. Keeping about a 4,000 gold for themselves now as Apollo farms up here in the top side. Only tier 2 left to take is in the top lane. Everything else involves sieging up the base of FlyQuest, and based on how Clutch have played this one so far, based on how slow this game is, I don't really see Clutch Gaming looking to force anything on the enemy inhibitor line until they've got yet another Baron buff in their pocket.
So something just happened here where LirA was actually given the mid wave. They allowed him to just pick up whatever CS he needed, and then he backs and he buys his banner. So they're looking for a double banner here. That's what they were looking for, and that's why Solo didn't use it, is they're trying to stack a wave and potentially get 2 cannon minions or even just 2 banners in the same wave.
Baron buff is running out. They've got a very limited amount of time left on this, roughly 30 seconds or so. So if you want to use it with this Baron, you're going to have to use it now. Turret destroyed in the top side. That's that final tier 2 we were talking about. Stretching strikes, pulling the Hakuho back in as the rest of FlyQuest rotates over, looking to make the fight. Fly wants to look for that Life Form Disintegration Ray inside this small area in the jungle. Clutch Gaming still thinking about fighting this one. Solo taken very low. There comes your Vel'Koz damage. Solo barely walking away from this one as Onda goes in, looking to find that elastic slingshot. Shurima shuffle, knocking him backwards as they do pop the passive. Febiven trying to put down the damage onto the Bloblets. Apollo grabbing the kill there onto Stunt. Onda going to be in some trouble. Turtle goes down to Febi. It's 2-for-0, the way of Clutch Gaming. They find a pretty big victory here. Onda body blocks, well, has the ace and the whole body block for him, I should say. Keeping him alive for now, but the mid lane push from Clutch Gaming onto that inhibitor turret, now to the inhib itself. Clutch has themselves a 5 versus 3. Turtle and Stunt both dead for another 20 seconds. Mid lane inhibitor goes down. Hakuho with the Devour, keeping those teammates safe, getting Apollo out after he put the last couple of shots into that inhib. Clutch Gaming, I said they probably wouldn't go towards that inhibitor line without Baron, but they get this fight, and then they can't.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to maybe pick up Apollo here at the start, but watch on the tail end of the fight what happens to WildTurtle. Because WildTurtle will go forward, and he actually just gets completely disintegrated here as they round that corner on the latter half. Watch this. So, solo flashes, Onda's going to re-engage. Turtle sees an opportunity to go around the side. Febiven sections him off, and now Turtle goes in, and he's dead. He actually gets instantly died.
Yeah.
Right there.
A lot of damage onto Turtle there. 2,000 gold Baron power play, though. Just a little bit shy of it for Clutch Gaming. 6,000 gold lead, roughly, for this team right now. Baron spawning here in 2 minutes. Elder Drake will be up in a little while longer than that. Warmog's up on both the Sion and the Zac on the side of FlyQuest, so making sure they're able to endure that poke from the enemy team. But you can tell the same story for Solo and LirA. All the meatballs this game, Zirene. Making sure that they're ready for these fights, making sure that the poke has to land on the back line to truly be successful. But if we're talking backline, let's talk Vel'Koz. Fly has Rabadon's death cap completed. You can say the same for Febiven. These guys hurt.
Yeah, interesting, because I think Fly had a needlessly large rod and a blasting wand.
Oh no!
He did.
The recipe juked him.
I think the recipe juked him or something, but he had a needlessly large rod and a blasting wand in his inventory. So then he just full bot Rabadon's death cap and still has the blasting wand now. So
he's just halfway towards the Void Staff. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But it means he could have had that death cap like in that last fight,
which potentially could have been the difference between Solo getting out and so many different little things can influence the way the game plays out. 45 seconds on Baron, a minute 45 till Elder Dragon rears his head. Clutch Gaming thinking about maybe looking for something here. Knockup finds its way onto Solo. More slows coming through, more CC.
Actually, no, you're right. He had the death cap during that fight, so didn't make a huge difference.
FlyQuest wanting to continue pushing up with this one. They're still behind. They've been behind the entirety of this game, but they are not afraid. They constantly look for opportunities. They're not willing to sit back and hope that Clutch makes a mistake. They want to find their own proactive moments, and I can respect that. At the same time, though, it means you've got to make very, very wise choices, because if you're behind and you're trying to force plays and you pick the moment that's not right, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, and they have about a minute to find exactly what they want to do here, because that Baron, it's live right now, and remember, it's a Cho'Gath. The Cho'Gath will be able to secure it over your jungler, so what are they going to do? Onda looking for the back line.
Onda into that back line, looking to maybe grab the kidnap. Instead, going to be shuffled away before he can find it. Clutch Gaming still in pretty good shape here. The same can be said for FlyQuest. Warmog's going to bring those tanks back up to full HP. Febiven took a little bit of damage himself. No regeneration there for him, but he does have 2 Ocean Drakes. It's a little bit slower than Warmog's, but it'll still do the job given enough time. FlyQuest thinking maybe they have another chance here. They still have the Zac ulti ready to go.
Yeah, the fact that he didn't get it off in the last one was huge, but it was still, Hakuho went for a Devour, and then Febiven flashed away, so Febiven doesn't have that flash or that Emperor's Divide for a bit of time here, and that would be the perfect time to engage. But now, you see Clutch are actually positioned for, hey, if you go Baron, we go Elder, and we get a super-powered Elder.
What a standoff between these two teams. That was a lot of damage from Ace in the hole there onto Fly, who doesn't have an Ocean Drake for himself.
Flame,
but that damage is going to stick, and Flame is taken down. Febiven grabbing the damage on that one. FlyQuest, no way to really do anything else in this fight as Clutch Gaming take control over the middle part of the map, and crucially, over those 2 massive buffs.
Man, Hakuho, he has enough CDR that he was actually just toying around with Flame. He gave him 3 licks, and then he's able to just nom him up.
3 licks to the center of a Sion pop. And that's what he did once they got on top of him. Doesn't matter how tanky you are, 5 versus 1, you are going to pop in just a second there. As now FlyQuest move themselves towards the Elder Drake. Clutch Gaming already grabbed Baron. Can they stop the Elder attempt? They don't have their Cho'Gath. They don't have their Azir. FlyQuest still trying to grab this. Can they get it? They do! LirA with a big steal.
LirA ends up picking that up, so that is both objectives for Clutch Gaming.
Both objectives for Clutch Gaming. 2 banners armed and ready to go. 1 minion dematerializer left standing on the side of FlyQuest. This is the nightmare scenario. If you're on this FlyQuest team, Clutch Gaming need to make big things happen with this push.
And it's an Elder Dragon, but it is 3 Elemental Drakes behind it. Clutch Gaming have been in charge of the objectives all game long. That is their 3rd Baron of the game. And right here, it goes down, I believe, to 500. There's a shot in there, yeah. It looks like Apollo gets a really good hit on it, and that's when it drops. That's in smite range for both junglers.
LirA comes up big, and that's a 50-50 that can honestly decide a game.
Yep.
Now with the buffs on, it's time to push. Fly grabbing that blue buff for himself. He's going to need all the wave clear assistance he can get with what Clutch Gaming are bringing to the table. They've got an exposed inhibitor in the mid lane. Inhibitor turrets up in both top and bottom lanes. Banners are ready to go. They've actually both been used.
Yeah, 1 top, 1 bottom, and the 1 top doesn't have anybody really on it, so that one's not Baron buffed up. The bottom one is, and that's the one they're kind of pushing into victory here.
Well, the 1 top got taken down with the minion dematerializer still intact, so if Stunt can make his way close enough to that thing, he can actually disarm it, but it's getting close with Hakuho, with Solo, with Apollo.
Yeah, I don't know
with everybody standing there. It's so difficult, especially with that trap line. Caitlyn synergizes so well with these siege tank cannon minions. And the push just continues. The minion will do all the work. Clutch don't even really have to worry about going in any further. All they have to do is protect that MVP minion, and it'll take care of this siege situation for them. Now they're going to just go ahead and abandon it, move over towards the mid lane.
It's that last dematerializer that just got used from Stunt. And with 1.5 minutes left on this Baron buff, I actually think you do get another banner up, I believe, from Solo especially. He would have that up in just a few seconds here.
Inhibitor in danger, though, down to 20% HP. Clutch Gaming want to make sure they take this one before they leave the base. They've got it. Apollo with the shots from the range, not quite matching the cannon minion, but still plenty far enough away to be safe for himself. Clutch Gaming, 1 minute left on Baron, rotating towards the top side, but now it's FlyQuest looking to go in and maybe stop the Manda into the back line, going to be forced away. Lifeform Disintegration Ray finding its way onto the entirety of the team. That one is huge. Clutch Gaming, nobody falls, but they've got to retreat.
Yeah, it looks like Onda wasn't able to fully get his ultimate off there. Yeah, it was just a quick snap cast on it to then get him out, so he wasn't able to kidnap anybody and just walks away right after. And now that actually pushed Clutch far enough back that you're gonna have to push really far for these banners to actually make it with the Baron buff still up, because there's only 20 seconds left on that.
Right.
And I'm checking banners right now, because if you hover over it, it tells you just how much gold it's earned and how much damage it's done to turrets. Flames has done about 1,200 damage. Ondas has done 0 damage to turrets. And then Stunts has done 3,000. Whereas on the other side, it was just purchased by Hakuho, so it doesn't really matter. It's at 0. There's 650 damage from LirA, but then there's over 9,000 damage from Solo. His is at 9,036.
We're not even memeing. That's actually just the number that it is. He's done an incredible amount of work with this item purchase so far this game. And now Clutch, even though they don't have the Baron, can push down the top side. You've got the super minion pressure in the remaining 2 lanes. You've got a massive 5,000 HP Cho'Gath with the Elixir of Iron. They want to end this game. 8,000 gold up. They should have the resources to do it. You've got a full build Caitlyn, a nearly full build Azir. All the elements are lined up where you need them 42 minutes into this game. Traps placed down on the left side of the turret to prevent any kind of an approach, except from the other side. Onda engages. A little bit of damage down onto the front line there. Solo will regenerate that with the Warmogs, given a couple seconds. Apollo and Febiven, critically, still full HP.
And they also got rid of those 2 banner minions, so no more banner for the time being here. And they just got to clear out those other waves. You can see Flame is off on the side, potentially looking for an ulti in.
LirA going in here as Onda goes into the back line, recognizing they've got to make some kind of a play, but Onda's taken so incredibly low. Flame off the side, not quite able to find what he's looking for. The kidnap will not bring anyone of value back, and now Stunt is locked down. Clutch Gaming have found the fight so far. They may lose their top laner, but they've already claimed 2. Solo still walking away as well. Fly and Turtle alive here. Flame trying to defend, stunned up, beaten down. And Clutch Gaming will seal the deal here with a double kill onto their AD carry. Only 6 kills for this team in 43 minutes. They're averaging 1 kill every 7 minutes of game time, but they got themselves a Nexus. They played it slow, they played it steady, and this looks like a team that deserves to lock in their playoff spot here. They're trying to grab just a couple more kills at the end, but the Nexus is really what matters.
This split, you're seeing Clutch Gaming in the LCS, and you'll also see them in the postseason. Now at 9-5 as that record, that's enough for playoffs.
And for that team, that feels really good. This is a team that a lot of people projected to be towards the middle of the pack when you look back at predictions, when you look back at expectations, when you look back at power rankings. And if you're predicted to be in the middle of the pack, that's kind of a wishy-washy zone. There's some question marks there because the middle of the pack, some of those teams get to go to playoffs, some of them don't. Clutch Gaming, now sitting confidently in third, now being that third team to lock that playoff spot, has said, no, we are not a middle of the pack team. We are a top of the pack team, and you're going to see more of us in the postseason.
Yeah, and with a lot of teams finding some inconsistency in this second half, like Cloud9, not able to pick up a few wins until, this week, but right now, Clutch Gaming, they've won 7 of their last 8 games. They've been surging, and it's been pretty consistent in terms of their improvement. Remember, this was a squad that had 3 members of Envy, and then it was like Envy plus improved solo laners, and now we're really seeing that here because they're not in that 6th place. They're right now in 3rd.
And the patience they displayed this game was pretty impressive as well. They had 2 kills, like you said, before. They had 2 kills on Baron before they had any kills on any enemy players. It was really cool to see, and we're going to go ahead now and send things down to Avli and Clutch's marksman.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Apollo. Congratulations on that win with the 2-0 weekend for Clutch Gaming. You secured 3rd place. What do you have to say to Mark Z and the haters?
Well, specifically to Mark Z, I mean, he was clearly wrong, and his opinion doesn't matter anymore. So I think that's good that we got that out there. But yeah, I mean, we did a really good job. I think this was definitely like an easier week for us. Like we have Echo Fox in TL upcoming, so it's like if we couldn't beat these guys, like there was really no chance against those guys. So I think it proves that we've been working hard, and we just have to be even stronger for next week.
Good. I'm glad that you put Mark Z in his place. Team looks super strong right now, but is there anything that you think needs polishing before you hit playoffs?
Well, I feel like the way we lose is usually our early game, but then we still have like a lot of different issues. But usually versus the top teams, it's like we don't even get to the mid game, and I think that's a big issue. So if we want to compete against them, it's pretty much just the early game.
Well, congratulations again on that win, and good luck next week. And to wrap up the day, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avli, but I don't know how much we need to say. I feel like Apollo had it all there.
I miss Wiz Fusion.
Wiz Fusion was the nice boy.
Yeah, he was the nicer version,
he was a great kid. This Apollo guy, I don't know how nice he is.
Shade, I like it. But let's talk about this squad, because as was just mentioned, they have locked the 3rd team here to lock a playoff spot. So in the postseason, this Clutch squad, is it safe to say they were underestimated coming into the season?
Coming into the season, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's been a little bit of a weird weekend where there were so many teams who could have clinched their playoff spots. We're talking about Team Liquid and these other teams, and they dropped the ball, and Clutch Gaming, to their credit, has never dropped the ball against the worst team. And you
Watch Turtle in this fight. This was amazing.
They don't do stuff like this, where you go into the wall and insta-die. That was such a great play, and that's to be fair, like actually a huge strength that Clutch Gaming has. Is Apollo is a very safe player, Febiven's a very safe player. Those are the 2 main damage dealers in their games every single time, and they're always playing safe, as well as great frontlining. Solo walked forward there on that engage and silenced Fly to stop any follow-up damage that might have come in. So he was doing a great job frontlining for this team, and they work very well as a team.
Yeah, and as we keep saying, they pick up the wins that they need to pick up at a more reliable clip than any other team in the North American LCS. Clutch hasn't dropped the games to Golden Guardians and COG, who the Echo Foxes and the C9s have actually dropped those games.
Right.
But Clutch also they still haven't beaten the Cloud9s or the Echo Foxes, which is why, like, next week will be so interesting. This game, super reliable, as we have now come to expect from Clutch Gaming when they play a team that is below them in the standings. Like, that's what they do so well. Febiven is safe, Apollo is safe. And as he mentioned in the interview just then, it's about the early game against the best team.
I think it was telling, too, the shots of the team immediately after the victory. No one's overjoyous. No one's crazy excited, even though they did just clinch a playoff spot. And that's much because they did expect to win this game, probably identified things within the game that they could have done cleaner. And their eyes are set onto some of those more difficult matchups. You mentioned it. They're 0-2 against Cloud9. They've suffered a loss against 100 Thieves, Liquid, and Echo Fox. These are all playoff teams. And so in these last couple weeks for this Clutch Gaming squad, it's going to be about showing that they can compete against the top of the table.
And I think, you know, until that happens, everyone will be a little hesitant around them, but they do deserve a lot of credit just for how they play against everybody. They treat everyone the same, which is not true for other teams in the league.
That said, with the pick ban up on the table, we just wanted to pull this up because we thought something really interesting happened here around the Sion pick for FlyQuest and the response from Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, that first rotation by side of FlyQuest here, something you don't see very often. Ezreal, Braum, Sion taken right away. It kind of telegraphed that something was in the air, as well as the fact that they let the Azir go over to Febiven, who is known to play that raising, and Fly's played it as well. So there's a shared champion that they didn't take and gave it to one of their best players.
Right.
So you feel like they had some kind of strategy prepared. We've seen a lot of Sion mid in the Academy League, and so it felt like that was what Clutch Gaming was concerned about, because their next two bans are top laners, even though Sion's already picked.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it is I do actually credit Clutch for this in particular. Most teams, I think, when the Sion is locked in, think, all right, time to counterpick those mid laners, but they pay attention to Academy. They know that Sion can actually shove in Azir early, which is something that like almost no other champion in the game can do, which takes away a lot of lane pressure and also takes away the strongest thing in Clutch Gaming. So the fact that they banned the top lane out, they banned the top lane so hard, they pulled Sion away from mid lane and gave Fly what would still be considered like what some people see a counterpick to Azir, but is really just something to get by with it. He doesn't have lane pressure, and he wasn't as effective in the game, which is cool.
Yeah, Febiven still handled that matchup fine, and like you said, had pressure the entire game.
All right, one last thing I want to talk about is the game time of today as compared to yesterday. Just real quick, because we saw it here with Clutch, this idea of the power of the Baron with that banner, but the dematerializer in response. And in the other regions, we didn't necessarily see that because everyone was on the banner train. But here in NA, it seems that the dematerializer has finally come to a place where it can slow the games back down. We're requiring 2-3 more Barons again just to close games.
It feels like there's not quite optimal play in either scenario. Some people are ending up without banners when the other team doesn't have dematerializers, and you're like, wait, you should build it then.
Right.
And then here there were dematerializers, and they only had one banner, so their first push got dealt with very quickly, and then they didn't set up the pushes correctly after that point, so it stalled out. There's still a lot of optimization to do on this patch pretty clearly.
Yeah, and I think it also shows how fickle the balance of League of Legends can be, because I think the changes were intent on speeding up games a little bit, for sure. Like Baron, Banner, for sure. That's supposed to speed up games. All right, Dematerializer now gets rid of the Siege minions. So that actually makes the push weaker if you no longer have Siege minions with your Baron pushes. And let's get rid of wards from the junglers for Tracker's Knife, so there'll be more picks in the jungle. Well, most teams now say, well, if we can't have wards, we need a guy with 5,000 health who can slowly lumber around the map and give us vision. So teams have less damage. Like,
more health, less damage.
Yeah, more health, less damage, and it doesn't matter if you have the wards because no one can kill each other. So that is how it started to move at the end, and I know it's been super rapid how teams have adapted to 8.4 so far, but I think that's why games actually slowed down today from even what they were last patch.
And that's not even to say that things are settled, right? We've seen more iterations happen in past weeks, and I'm sure will happen as we move towards next week. This week, though, teams fought tooth and nail to pick up these wins, and rather pick up wins, and these players stood out above the rest. This week's OP5 are Impact, Dardoch, Febiven, Stixxay, and Biofrost. First up, Team Liquid's Impact.
And even though they lost their second game, which happened today, yesterday, his Shen performance was so good. It was basically one of those 1v9 hard smash games where they win solely off the back of his pick and his play. And then even in today's game on the Trundle pick, he still had a ton of pressure and took the turret 1v1.
He had just the Shen game in a vacuum could almost get you OP5 because that's about as hard as we've seen a top lane carry. It's definitely as hard as we've seen a top lane carry Shen in that game in particular, especially against 100 Thieves, who bounced back, beat TSM, and are still a pretty good team.
All right, next up, we've got Echo Fox's Dardoch.
Yeah, this guy as well, even though they went 1-1, in the game they lost, I thought he performed well. And specifically his Kha'Zix play today had so much map presence that allowed him to pick up that win.
I mean, the invises, right? The use of the invis on the champion. There's been some pretty unique ways to use it.
Players.
Yeah, that was probably the most like aggressive usage of stealthing up into a brush of enemies and then retreating after you get the vision. It was very impressive to see, but also like, wow, that is a mechanic right there.
Right, and now it's like, what do you do? Because throughout the entire split, we've been talking about how great his Zac is, how amazing he is on this engaged tank champion. Yeah. But he's still just as great on a lot of these assassin-oriented champions as well. And so pinpointing his playstyle and where to target him if you ever want to take him off something comfortable doesn't feel so possible anymore. Next up in the mid lane, we've got Clutch Gaming's Febiven.
And this was a game for them where they've won 2 games this week against Optic and FlyQuest. Some of the games slow, not super impressive in terms of having a single standout player, but he is that linchpin in the mid lane for Clutch Gaming where they can take him whatever he wants, often Azir, and he doesn't die ever. He has the lowest deaths of mid laners in the league, I'm pretty sure. Wow. That's why his KDA is absolutely nuts all the time, and he always puts out good damage numbers as well. So great weekend out of him again to make sure that they actually clinch their playoff spot.
Moving right along, we got a couple CLG players. First up, Stixxay.
They did it, man. Stixxay woke up from his long slumber, and he got some kills and assists. Pre-15 minutes, he also went to carry a lot of these in the late game. The Zirene game was massive in their C9 win. They also had the TL win today where they had pulled out the Bard in the bottom lane. Like, these two in particular, we're starting with Stixxay, really showed up this week when COG kind of just 2-0'd out of nowhere.
And it feels like it's a little bit of a long time coming for Stixxay, who's been having better and better performances, the Callista's games and those kinds of things. And finally, when they get their 2-0 weekend over huge upsets, you really got to tip your cap to him.
The slow ramp up, but you mentioned it's going to be 2 of those guys in the bot lane for CLG, so Biofrost will be taking it for support.
Whipping out some interesting picks, too, while doing it. The Rakan, he was playing that before the Zirene lane became super predominantly played. And then he also had a sick Bard game today. So they talk about how he's doing some more shot calling, he has more responsibilities, and with the playmakers, it's much easier to call your own shot.
Exactly, and that's kind of the icing on the cake for Biofrost here. So many players see their play dip when they're shot calling, but for Biofrost to have some of the best mechanical plays he's had all split, while also taking on a larger playmaking, shot-calling role for the team is doubly impressive. So a huge week for Biofrost.
That said, could be a little too late. Not mathematically eliminated, but we heard it from Biofrost himself. For them, it's just about improvement through the end of the split, picking up those wins and making sure they're moving towards summer looking better.
I mean, if they have a winning record in the second half of the split and they miss playoffs at 7th, I think it's where you can look at this team and say, you know, are we ready to run this back again in summer and continue improving? Because this is a team that has very positive attitudes. They are well coached, generally speaking. Like Zix has a great track record. It's a good org. So is this a team that you're ready to double down on for summer?
And again, on paper, looks like a squad that should be able to compete on the top half of the NALCS. Now, Twitter ignited over some of the insane play from this weekend, so we pulled a few tweets to celebrate those big moments. Brought to you by Acer Predator. First up, Sarah Enders charted the evolution of Impact throughout his win over 100 Thieves. Top die, mid die, everybody die.
Impact's taking some damage here to this one. I don't know if he can get away with this. He's going to fight a little bit, put the shield on. He's buying some time. He's doing really good with that, but his health bar's still running low. Gets actually... Oh, you're kidding me! Impact actually gets the kill!
Shield
and he's not dying! Are you freaking kidding me, Impact? Still staying alive!
No.
Rakan shows up, gives him the heart, and that is ridiculous.
I think I'm possibly dead. Okay. Hey, we got Ali. Ali has the flash. Ali has the flash. Ali flash.
Hey, can we go better?
No. We just go top. Go top. Okay. Take it slowly. Oh shit. I think if we got a kill, we could have.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm here.
Yeah.
All right. No. Save him.
Good shit, Impact.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Wow, nice.
This is Impact Shen.
I like how even his teammates were like, oh, okay, well, should we go Baron? Should we go top?
They're all planning as if he's going to die. They're like, okay, he's dead. Let's go pressure elsewhere on the map.
I think I'm possibly dead.
He thought he died. That just 1v2s him. It's incredible. All right, next up, SA Esports called out Svenskaren's getaway on the Kazakhs versus CLG. Poof! Svenskaren disappears.
Sven wants in, gets the kill, but doesn't have a way out after he kills off Biofrost. He's up against 2 tanks. Gonna get knocked into the air, turns invisible for a couple of seconds, but he's silenced and he's gonna run out of health pretty rapidly. More TC coming in, and Sven gonna go for his duel.
Darshan needs to get over and help him, but he's trying to cut off his escape path, and will Sven just get out?
Well, Sven has flash, he's gonna jump away, and he's invisible. He's invisible again.
Oh no.
And he does make it away, the great escape.
Oh no.
Was he on flash, Cho'Gath?
I'm not sure. Not sure, yeah.
Turn around.
Sneaky's gonna heal. I think just go Baron side. No, or we can
Turn around from Joe.
Dennis, I need help. Yeah.
Okay,
He has no glory.
He flashed.
Nice.
I'm out.
Nice.
Oh, I'm fine.
Nice. Good job.
Out to base.
I love Ezreal.
Close one.
Yeah, the despair.
He could feel it. He felt the pain himself of like watching your solo queue teammates chase somebody down not to get the kill.
Especially Kha'Zix, man. Like, every Kha'Zix is going Moby boots. You can stay invisible so long in the game whenever you're in brush.
Sorry, it was a good makeup play though from that other one where he just charges into the bottom lane brush yesterday on Kha'Zix and just.
I think this play happened in the game first, and then he killed himself.
Oh, sorry.
So,
well, fine. Other way around.
Yeah,
but still,
it was a come down.
It was a good contrast to that play. Make sure you keep tweeting your favorite plays all season long. Use that hashtag NALCS, and we'll share some of the big plays of every week. That does it for us here on the desk. So to close out the weekend, let's hand it over to Freak, Zirene, and Ezreal for NALCS Tonight.